Just one of the only times I'll say this, that was a really grounded episode of Concrete Revolutio. I understood everything in this episode. I was like, holy Christ, I understand everything. Everything was actually just given to you. And yeah, it was still a bit overt what he's trying to say, but once you figured it out, you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Basically, this episode is centered on Aki. Aki being one of the members of Angel Stars, the actual like kind of superhuman idol group we saw last season, kind of going a bit rogue, kind of didn't know what side to side on in the actual like kind of thing that's happened last season. What happened was, actually, Aki was dating one of the actual members, the member being the drummer. What happened was, basically, it got out. And what happened was, they disbanded after that point. The fact that actually in this episode kind of made you realise you got to hide a lot of your sexual orientation, a lot of things behind you, because if you actually let anything loose, it breaks the image that you've created. It breaks the image that you've kind of brought up to this point. If you have to break that image, it kind of just like destroys the entire group. And the group might not even be able to survive after that one point. It's one of those episodes you're kind of like, holy Christ, you're right. You got to keep this image up. You have to hide a lot of these things, because if you actually happen to break this one image you actually kind of brought up to this point, you're screwed. I thought to myself, if anything, good job Concrete Revolution, good job the writers, good job getting the Bucci for actually kind of tackling this idea, because it's actually quite an evident thing in society. I mean, some people have to actually kind of hide a lot of their personality behind a lot of things because they brought this image up, but they happen to release anything that's not known before about them, effing screwed. That also, the fact that actually the drummer she was dating might have committed suicide or gone somewhere else. The fact that it was kind of like, holy Christ. And Rainbow Knight as well. Rainbow Knight he's actually human, but he was superhuman at the same time. It's kind of really confusing. That bit was like, okay, because basically Chief, or was a part of the Fumas, who actually is still alive but dead now, because what happened was, you actually see Jiro trying to get back the mask, and Rainbow Knight's mask, and what happened was, basically, he got the mask back. Kind of meets Mitsuya, the guy who kind of like destroyed the whole idea of ever the superhumans living in society normally. And what happened was, we actually found out, because it kind of dawned on me after a while, holy crap, Mitsuya is actually possessed by the Chief. And actually, the Chief kind of gets out of the body, because they've only possessed bodies which are dead or not living. And what happened was, basically, he actually invaded Jiro's body and said, don't worry, I'll actually kind of relinquish you of this, like, pain that you have, of the power that you have. Because what happened was, Jiro actually goes a bit insane while trying to fight Mitsuya, or Chief. And then what happens is, he kind of actually gives up the power. The Chief just says, don't worry, I'll kind of relinquish you of this power. So now he doesn't have the power. In fact, actually, when he goes to Equus at the end of the episode to fight Aki, he actually is able to use it freely without a problem. It's kind of like, holy Christ. So now he's living without that problem. Because I always thought to myself, does he still live with that problem? Because you actually don't see his arm too much in the kind of the future. You don't really see his arm too much. So could have actually been saved, could have actually just gone away. It was answered in this episode. It's kind of like, holy Christ, we actually did get some context that I needed in this episode about Jiro. It's kind of like, if anything, good job episode. It just one of those kind of episodes that answer a lot of questions. The fact that also the Fumas wanted to actually just advance society in a way and advance the actual human race, but we kind of see it in like kind of malintent, or we don't see it in a very, very kind of clear light what they want to do, but they actually just want to evolve society. But the fact that actually in the end they died, that Fumas are gone, I was kind of like, okay, that was kind of confusing, but I kind of like it. I liked the episode overall. The fact that also Aki was actually being tested upon by Judas, who went a little bit inactive for 4 years, but actually was resurfaced as working in the hospital. I was kind of like, okay, so he's working in a legal hospital that actually helps superhumans. I was kind of like, that's interesting. In fact, actually, Judas was actually experimenting on Aki with Jiro's secret, and the fact that she turns into a 50-foot woman at the end of the episode is kind of like, holy Christ, what's going on here? And then basically, Jiro just kind of just like decimates her instantly with Equus. I was kind of like, okay, I'm freaking out. Okay. And also, Raito from last episode is actually on the run as well. He's actually wanted, so he's not, I guess, in the clear yet. He's still on the run. So, if anything, this episode was freaking great. The animation was on point. The animation was freaking great as well. I liked the episode a lot because it had a grounded message. It had a nice message. The fact that you actually have to keep this image up, because if you let anything loose, it can all go wrong. It was one of those episodes. The fact that Emmy and Kiko actually go and visit the actual kind of press room and say, look, what's happened here, and the fact that Kiko actually kind of mentions, was it with a man? She goes, not necessarily a man. So that makes you realise at that point something's going on here, and the fact that actually there is more to it, and the fact it's actually more of a scandalous idea, because even in the newspaper, or the papers that she was reading, there was kind of like a lot of suggestive imagery that, like, in a sense of modelling, with Aki. I was kind of like, this is actually kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting idea in how we perceive these kind of people, how we perceive an image of a person. How this person might actually not be the person we realise behind closed doors. There actually might be more to them, but the image they actually made up so far is what we believe. So we believe that image. I thought It's interesting. It's an interesting episode. It's one of those episodes kind of like, holy Christ, by the end of the episode, it's kind of like, I like this. If they give us some more episodes like this, freaking sold. But yeah, so, with all that said, Happy New Driver. Sorry this review's a bit late. But yeah, so, you want to leave a like? Do leave a like, that's quite a bit. Leave a sub. Do leave a sub, that's quite a bit. But with all that said, Happy New Driver. And I will see you guys later. Bye for now.